While out at sea, a group of fishermen spotted what appeared to be a seal stranded on a floating iceberg. But as they drew closer, they could hardly believe their eyes. What they saw prompted them to take immediate action, an incredible adventure that would change their lives forever. Mallory Harrigan, Ellen Russell, and Cliff were three friends who owned a small fishing boat. In the past, they had been involved in sports, but they eventually chose to take a completely different path, leaving their old lives behind to become novice fishermen. They bought a small fishing boat and prepared for real sea adventures. That day, the three of them went out to sea near Newfoundland. The sea was not too calm, and the weather, as always, was chilly. The crew thought they were ready for any dangers, but they had no idea what awaited them ahead. First of all, the three planned to return home with a good catch of fish and crabs. The crew had already gone to the open sea several times before, and this time they had carefully planned their route in advance. While one of the crew was preparing lunch, Mallory was steering the vessel, carefully watching everything around. In this part of the ocean, there were often large drifting icebergs that could cause the sinking of a massive ship like the Titanic, let alone a small fishing boat. Moreover, due to global warming, the ice starts to melt faster, and each year, the number of drifting icebergs increases, forcing ship crews to be extremely attentive and cautious. These icebergs hide great danger, but sometimes they bring unusual surprises in the form of northern birds, walruses, seals, and sometimes even polar bears. The crew had already encountered northern animals on icebergs several times, and each time, they looked at them with interest. That day, right in the process of crab fishing, Cliff also noticed some animals on a small, almost melted iceberg nearby. At first, everyone thought it was most likely an Arctic seal that had decided to rest on the passing iceberg. However, when the ice block got closer, the fishermen realized it was not a seal at all. The creature on the top of the iceberg was small and fluffy and looked very scared, clearly being in an unfamiliar environment. The people on the boat began to closely observe the animal in distress until they realized it was a small, badly frozen Arctic fox. It was obvious that the animal had somehow ended up on the iceberg and had no chance of swimming to the shore if it tried to jump into the icy water. Perhaps the Arctic fox was hunting some northern bird when the iceberg suddenly broke off from the shore and floated into the open ocean. From this moment began the incredible and very dangerous sea journey of the little creature in the vast ocean. Fortunately, the fishermen noticed the unfortunate creature in time, managed to save it from the iceberg, and immediately placed it in a warm bed filled with sawdust on their boat. At first, the animal was very wary of the people who saved it, but gradually understood that they were not going to harm it. As soon as the Arctic fox warmed up, the people immediately offered it sausages, the only treat suitable on the ship for a wild predator. Soon, the animal had a hearty meal, warmed up completely, and looked much better than on the drifting iceberg when people were unsure if they could save the unfortunate creature. The Arctic fox managed to survive in extreme conditions and not freeze to death for a long time on the iceberg thanks to its natural features of a thick layer of subcutaneous fat, dense underfur, and very thick fur. After taking good care of the Arctic fox, the fishermen released it on a suitable shore, where the animal quickly found a new temporary shelter, which turned out to be an old dog kennel on a hillside overlooking the sea. At that moment, this place was the perfect home for the animals because it was safe and far from human settlements. After carefully examining its new home, the Arctic fox became bolder and began exploring the surroundings as its new territory for living and hunting. The area is covered with grass in the warm season and a thick layer of snow in the winter, which must be an ideal home for the little predator. It's a pity that the Arctic fox won't be able to return to its original habitat, but at least it survived a long adventure on an iceberg that almost melted right under it. The satisfied fishermen watched for a while as the Arctic fox settled into its new home on unfamiliar territory. The Arctic fox gave the people a grateful look and disappeared behind the hill. The crew was overjoyed. Not only had they rescued an animal in distress, but they had also found it a new home. The Arctic fox quickly adapted to its unfamiliar surroundings, eagerly exploring its new environment with curiosity. In the end, a few compassionate fishermen, willing to spare their time and boat fuel, managed to save the life of a small creature that would have surely perished in the vast ocean without their help.